Hi to everyone. Today I'm going to kind of continue with that discussion about D minor, as I was calling it, and now I'm not so sure anymore since I spoke the last time. Thanks again for everyone who has sent in a tune. I keep meaning to write to those folks and see if we can just make a little list of their tunes, and I'm still going to do that. So today I wanted to say that even though I was calling this tune a D minor tune, the more I looked around and listened to people, I was finding out that it's not exactly straight ahead a D minor tune. Because if it was, then the B should have been flat in the tune that I made. So what I did end up writing was a modal tune in D, and that it's actually the Dorian mode. Whew. Now, it's a long time ago that a fellow here in Chicago, flute player Noel Rice, used to talk about modes. And for some reason, call it youth, I tuned out, mostly. I was interested, but I didn't make that the foundation of writing a tune for sure, and I didn't listen to tunes and start to describe them as being in something Mixolydian, in something Dorian, and but if I had written that tune in D minor, instead of the notes that I gave you, which were they would have been so. Isn't that interesting? As I started looking this up and seeing difference between just a scale and a mode, it's so interesting that, like, if I were to just shift this over, the tune that I wrote, and decided to make the B's flat, then it'd be a completely different sounding tune. I think this is more in my world of music, to have made the B just a natural, and that's probably why I did it. And of course, you know, as you write tunes and make tunes, like from measure to measure or every two measures, there can be points where you move away from the described key signature, and you can shift, and maybe the key signature isn't correct right then, and that's when you often see these natural signs or indications of sharps and flats. But if I remind you of the tune that we did, or I did, excuse me, and it was going like this. If I switch all of my B's and make them B flats, then I would be doing something like this. So doesn't that really change the tune? And then it would be in D minor, and you would see a one flat in your key signature, as it was, since it was in this Dorian key, which just means that between, like if I go up the scale that I just played for you, D to E is called a whole step, because you're not dealing with, which would be a half step. So your scale really goes D to E. The next note is an F, so that's a half step. F to G. We're leaving out the F sharp, so this is a whole step. That's a whole step because we're leaving out a G sharp. And then I'm leaving out the B flat, and it's going to be a whole step here again. And then a half step. And then a whole step. If we want to include the top D, the octave, to go with the scale. Interesting. I have to even write this out to myself to remember what am I talking about. So then the question is, do we ever decide a mode and then write a tune based on it? Well, obviously I just did. And do I usually do it? I don't think so. I think I'm just finding a tone in the ether and starting from there. But should we do it? And I think my answer would be there, of course, because it's there to be had. It's fun. I keep saying the music is fun, and it really is, and it's all about exploring. So I'd say that all things are in, including a lot of the little ideas I've thrown at you over the last nearly couple of years now. Have a tone and base it on that. Have a very small series of notes or one string for us fiddle players, and make up a tune just given these parameters. So yeah, we can do this. And again, I don't know that we need to really think about it as anything more than a way of going up that scale that we can sing da da dum dee da da dum da, and wherever we started, if we started on an E, if we started on a G, if we started on a B, we can be we just are keeping those whole and half steps in mind, and whatever the key signature changes to, we're thinking those intervals as we climb up. Interesting? Hope so. And so for today, now I'm going a different direction. I'll pause here for just a second and then teach you a tune. I want to share a tune with you that is again in this kind of D modal world. Sometimes the B is flat, sometimes the B is not. And, but this is an oldie of mine, and I was trying to look through some old sheet music for when I wrote things out. So I'll put this original written music at the end of this video, but I'll also include a clean, nice version from my first book of tunes, the collected. This is a tune called Sue McNamara's, and I named it after an old dancing buddy of mine. She was from Ohio, from a lovely family there, and yeah, she was wonderful. One of these folks that you'd, yeah, she was. Somehow I'd end up in competitions at Vesha's, and sometimes I'd meet Sue there. First of all, probably just standing in line to be in a competition when we were young. And then later on, of course, she and her sister would be in championships. And then I would be maybe playing the music for her and for these competitions that used to happen in New York back in the day. So here is the tune I wrote for Sue, who very sadly passed away a few years ago. And it is a reel, and it's a very early reel of mine, I think. And again, look out that this is kind of in that D world with a few B flats thrown in. And I'll play it and then I'll teach it to you. Just for fun, just to add to the repertoire. So just phrase by phrase, and do use your rewind if you need it a little bit slower. You can also do that on your YouTube link. And here it is, just phrase by phrase. So it starts on the D. So that's your first measure. The second measure is I'm repeating it. And if I run those two measures into each other, we've got And then it can be nice to play those couple of phrases back to back. You'll see that when I go over to the A on the G string, I'm actually going to do a grace note right there, and I use my third finger, as I often do, which gets me back to that A. And then I consider that A that I go back to the first of a triplet. So you're basically in your head, da 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 da. But what I'm doing with my fingers then is again, I can play that a bunch of times. And I like to, once I kind of have something down, it's nice to change up what you're doing with your bow. So I'm very, like, almost calculated in saying, oh, what else could I do with my bow? So I'm not really stuck. So I'm going down, up. Maybe that's the only thing that could be said to be kind of for sure. But I could also start the whole tune with an up bow and then slur into. Then the next phrase, of course, you've got, and I'm kind of thinking in my head, da, dee, da, da. So it's not really even, it's not da, 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 dum. And it's not even really dum, dee, da, dum, although that's the closest. So you're kind of going. But I try to get it with single bows as well. So I'm really bending into that third note there. Okay, so just again, the first phrase is then. If I move on, I'm going to give you two measures now. I'll play that again. And once more. Now really, the next two measures are Now I'm stopping there. It's the very same as the first phrase. And now I'm going to use a G to get to the last part. And I'm going to go. Again, using that G to start it off. A, D, grace, A, C, grace with the third, And then this is not going to be that little triplet, but it's just going to go as if we're going. I'm going to use my finger, grace finger, to instead of using another bow. And this goes so fast that you can use your second finger, but you can use your third. And that gets us back to the first part. So we can play that phrase over and over. Yeah, and that'll send us to the second part. So let's do it again. And back to the first part. And there, instead of doing, I just decided to go to the B flat, A, B, and then almost to use like a little vibrato. Just little things. So here's your first part, twice. So now for the second part, and I'll do it phrase by phrase again, but just to remind you, it goes. And that'll find me coming back to the first part of the tune. And yeah, so hang on one second. So this first phrase is. We enter the next phrase by starting with a B. The next phrase is. And then we finish that with. So from the start to there, and I would slow it up if I thought there was anything standout, wicked, hard to play. And some of the fingering for us fiddle players now is kind of close in there. So let's check this all out. Yeah, there was a couple of little crossovers that are just kind of a little bit, yeah, a little tight fingering for the fiddlers. The next phrase, actually from there, yeah, maybe the first phrase again. So that's the same as the beginning. And then the next phrase after that is. So those two phrases from the middle. And we can play that a bunch of times. So if we take it from the start of the second part. So we have an ending coming up, and it goes. Right, so it's a G sharp there, A, G sharp, A, B, C, that's a quarter note, triplet, starting with the D, and then 8 notes out. And then we would use to start the second part again. I'm rushing along. Got to still have to work out space on my computer, so that's yeah, that's a problem. Hopefully this will fit today, and I'll be able to get it out the door to you. So I'm going to leave the early written music there. I will also add as I say, nice cleaned up notes from Collected. Again, it's called Sue McNamara's. Yeah, it's is it in D, Dorian? Is it in D minor? Want to hear your opinions. And again, we're staying in this sonic world. Anyway, I did enjoy writing this tune back in the day, and hopefully you'll enjoy it.